A talent agent is sitting in his office. A family walks in, man, woman, their 2 kids, and their little dog. Their talent agent goes, "What kind of an act do you do?" The father starts fucking his wife. The wife starts jerking off the son. The son starts going down on the sister. The sister starts fingering the dog's asshole. And the son starts blowing his father. You want me to start at the beginning? If you missed any portion, I'll repeat it.
There was this weird buzz that came, and you could see the guys up on the day.
Then the daughter starts licking out the father's asshole. Then the father shits on the floor. The mother shits on the floor. The dog pisses and shits on the floor. They all jump down into the shit and piss and cum. And they start fucking and sucking each other. And then they take a bow. And the talent agent says, "I'll wait till you're ready." They might have to clean this up for TV.
I was laughing because he just was going so big with it.
Where was I? Oh, yes. The son is licking out his father's asshole.
I almost died.
They fucking suck each other and they take a bow. And the talent agent, did you miss any portion of this? The talent agent says, "Well, that's an interesting act," which is kind of an understatement.
Focused it, did it. He clearly had impressed a lot of people in the room.
Now!
He pulled this thing out and did it so well and with such fearlessness.
I hate to end this on a really sentimental note.
There was a sound in the audience that you really knew that.
He says, "Now, what do you call yourself?" And they go, "The Aristocrats."
Oh, I forgot that. That's not. That's.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard, or Spike, the Gilbert Gottfried of vice presidential nominees. Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Hey, everybody. And not just because I'm Jewish and have an uncurable progressive degenerative disease. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining this special episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt, Wright, and I are parsing through the week's events like the sweet little chipper, whatever the hell I say. Be sure to share this. Be sure to like it. Be sure to subscribe to it. Be sure to comment, like other people's comments, share their comments. You can't share comments. Well, you can retweet them. Retweet the tweets on this tweet if you're tweeting. And if it's on YouTube, don't just subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell. I can't. I'm using my phone. I want your phone, which I'm using right now, to explode with notifications every single time we go live. Rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried. I don't even know what to say about that. I'm still processing that. He was, after Norm Macdonald died, he was my favorite living comedian. And now he's dead. I feel like whoever, I don't even want to say who my favorite living comedian is now because they'll die too.
Right. No, I definitely understand that. First and foremost, before we get more into that, first and foremost, allow me to thank Justin for the kava that I am drinking on today's episode.
And allow me to thank the American Airlines Admirals Club for this orange and lime infused water I'm drinking, as well as these snap peas and pepperoncinis that I'm dipping into this in hummus and baba ganoush, and these Rice Krispie treats, that I got for Tasha that I'm going to bring her when I get flying back. And then this water that I don't even know why I just took it because they have that too.
It's here.
So I took a water. It's here because I could take it. Right. And water at the airport's like $12. So this saved me $12 at some point in my life. Bulavanaka.
That's being fiscally conservative.
Yes, and socially liberal, because we just played that joke for the intro. That's the social liberalism, yeah.
That's right. So Gilbert Gottfried, for anybody who doesn't know the story of him telling that version of that joke, it was the most brilliant time that joke has ever been told. It was like September 20th ish.
Yep.
September 20th. It was in September of 2001, and he was at the Hugh Hefner roast, and there was no comedy going on in New York, and the Friars Club got together to do the roast of Hugh Hefner, and Gilbert Gottfried was the last comic to be on that show. And he gets up and he's telling all these jokes. He's being Gilbert Gottfried, and he's making fun of everybody. And then he says, earlier today, I had a flight into LaGuardia, which I think is in New York. I'm just making that part up because I don't remember exactly what he said.
I think it was LaGuardia.
Yeah, he's like, I had a flight into LaGuardia, but we had a layover at the Empire State Building.
Yep.
And the audience fell silent.
There was still smoke rising from the wreckage of the Twin Towers when he said this, a matter of miles away from it.
Yeah. The audience fell completely silent, and he knew, being the professional comedian that he was, that he had lost his audience. And in order to get them back, he busts out the Aristocrats and goes full-fledged into the Aristocrats, and did it with the gusto and confidence of only a seasoned professional can do that joke.
Especially after just making a 9/11 joke shortly after, still during 9. I mean, it was still 9.
It was still 9 of 9/11.
It was still the 9 of 9/11. And he told that joke, and he thought, you know what is going to bring him back? The Aristocrats. And this was before it was a widely known thing. Aristocrats is a joke that comedians tell other comedians to get them riled up. Like it wasn't really anything that had really been that public up until that point. And you want to talk about bravery, but again, this was the guy who joked about the Japanese tsunami. And as he said it, he joked about the Japanese tsunami, and it caused a tremendous outrage around the world. And then they fired him and replaced him with a voiceover actor who sounded literally exactly like him, thus putting an end to a horrific tragedy.
We have lost multiple comedians. We lost Norm Macdonald not that long ago. We lost Bob Saget, whose version of the Aristocrats is on par, if not better, than Gilbert Gottfried.
Than Gilbert's, yeah.
Louis Anderson, I wasn't a huge fan, but we lost him. And now,
that's right. We lost Louis Anderson.
Yeah, that was overshadowed by Bob Saget because it was like within weeks. And people were still wondering how Bob Saget actually died.
Right.
So it has been a tough year for people who have been fans of comedy, fans of stand-up comedy, and it has been very difficult to go through. But the beauty of it is all of these people just wanted to make us laugh, and they did it by making us so extremely uncomfortable that it was an art to them. Especially Gilbert Gottfried, Norm Macdonald, and Bob Saget. Louis Anderson, not so much.
Louis Anderson,
And to them, that's why we kind of play their stuff before an episode when something like this happens. Because when they did that, it was to make everybody uncomfortable, but to break the tension and to make things a little bit better. And yes, Gilbert Gottfried will be missed by many, and he will forever live on as the man who eased the tension of a poorly timed 9/11 joke with the Aristocrats.
Gilbert Gottfried gone, Norm Macdonald gone, Bob Saget, America's dad, America's white dad. I guess Bill Cosby was America's dad.
He's gone too in a different way.
He's gone. I mean, the Bill Cosby we knew and loved was gone, and yet somehow magically Artie Lang is still alive. What an incredible testament to whatever the hell that is.
Right. Artie Lang was at that roast. He was on right before Gilbert Gottfried. So before we get into the show and continue talking about Gilbert Gottfried, I'm certain throughout, let's pay some bills. First, let us thank the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the second largest and fastest growing waffle-related caucus in the multiverse. Depending on which multiverse you are in, there is a Peter Parker in all of the Waffle House caucuses. If you want to become a member of the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, all you have to do is find the special group on Facebook and hit the join button. I don't know, whatever that button.
And become a member, apply. I don't even know what the button. Whatever the button is that makes you join a group, whatever it says.
Hit that button. Hit whatever that button is, and bam! Look at that.
Unless it says report.
Right,
if
don't
it says
hit that
report,
button.
don't press it.
Don't press that
press
button.
all the other buttons. Press the other ones.
If you want to become a voting member of a caucus that never votes on anything,
ever,
nor will we, all you have to do is head on over to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/store and find the Waffle House Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus button and or shirt, and then you will be an official voting member. The Gravy King, Joe Solosky. Joe Solosky is running for Pennsylvania governor. And if you live in the Pennsylvania region of these United States and are looking for a governor who truly believes in liberty and not being held back by anything, you should vote for Joe Solosky. He is the key to Pennsylvania's success. Bull Johnson, Travis Bull Johnson. He is running for U.S. Congress in Minnesota District 7. If you don't know Travis Bull Johnson, you should, especially if you live in Minnesota District 7, because you should vote for him for Congress. He believes in raising crops, not taxes, or raising animals and not taxes. I don't remember what his shirt says off the top of my head. But
I think it's either one of them, actually.
Either one. So,
and I think it's raise cattle, not taxes.
That sounds right. That's probably it. Yes, raise cattle, not taxes. So if you live in the Minnesota region, if you live in the District 7 of Minnesota region,
like that's like half of Minnesota.
Right, it's the other half.
Yeah.
You should vote for Travis Bull Johnson in the upcoming U.S. congressional race. Stitches and glitches and defy the power. If you notice, people, if you're a regular watcher of this show, you probably notice something is different. And that is because the 10% off Muddy Tumbler code is no longer there. But
R.I.P.
R.I.P. like Gilbert Godfrey.
Oh gosh. Two things have died
Today
on this day. Gilbert Gottfried and the Muddy Tumbler code.
And the Muddy Tumbler code. But that does not mean that you still can't get the highest quality tumblers from Stitches and Glitches and or Defy the Power. These tumblers are made with space age materials and science that lasted on the moon, unless you're Jack Casey and you don't believe the moon exists. And they will keep your drinks, they'll keep your cold drinks cold and your hot drinks hot. And they will keep your tepid drinks tepid. Don't put them in the dishwasher. They have, you can customize the ever living crap out of these things. You can put whatever you want on them. They're not going to judge you. They're libertarians. You can put whatever you want.
They put a lot of stuff on it.
You can put, they put whatever you want on it, and you can customize every single aspect of it, including the bottom. Mine, which I have with me pretty much at all times, especially when I'm on the air, says man on the left, which means I graduated because I used to be guy on the left. And it's moved up. Got the Muddied Waters logo there. And then on the bottom, I got to take the straw out. It says, Spike talks too much.
Spike. Oh, it says, I thought you had a new one. It said Spike looks like a something. Anyway, that's better. I don't talk too much. You've been talking a lot recently.
I have been talking a lot recently. That's because you've been tired and I've been having to.
That's true. Well, also, I've been eating baba ganoush, which I'm going to have to get a little bit in a minute.
Yes. And remember, you can always go get your muddied gear today, but don't go to the website that's over here because that doesn't work right now. Go to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/store.
Yes.
Tony Mackin wants to know, will my autographed tumbler make its way to me soon? That is a good question, Tony. That is a fantastic question. Yes. Spike says yes.
Yes, it will. And I can, when I get back home, I will send you your, what's it called, Tony? Your the thing, tracking code.
Okay, tracking code. Cool.
Yeah.
So, how was Texas?
Texas was great. I had a great time at the convention. Really great catching up with all my Texas people. I hadn't been at a Libertarian Texas event since 2020. So it was great catching up with a lot of people I hadn't seen in 2 years and a lot of other people I hadn't seen ever in my entire life and getting to know them. I got to recreate the meme the Wholesome Sabbath meme. I was posting it while their gubernatorial candidate was starting his talk right before I went on with Joe Walsh. I put that up and it's someone hugging someone else. And it says, the person being hugged, it says, someone who hates the government as much as I do. And so as I was walking up to the stage, a guy by the name of Scott Talley, who is with the, I don't remember, Libertarian Party of Texas, he said, hey, Spike, I hate the government as much as you do. And so I gave him a big hug and someone took a picture of it. So we got to recreate the meme and we raised a bunch of money for LP Texas and had a great time. And well, I was going to say now I'm back, but I'm not back. Now I'm back in Charlotte. And this week, join me. We will, well, I don't know the details of that yet, so I'll have to get back to you, but we have something coming on Thursday in Nashville. So come see me at it on Thursday.
At 8 o'clock Central.
Yes.
8 Central. Cool. So that brings us to, because Spike has a flight in less than an hour, so we're going to have to power through these things. So that brings us to
boom.
Mudwater coffee. I don't have that written down. Mudwater mushroom coffee replacement cacao rapid fire segment, brought to you by the most aptly named sponsor that we have ever had here at Muddied Waters Media, Mudwater. Spike.
Yes, if you were to wake up today and say, Spike, I don't know. I don't want coffee anymore. My life is tough. I was trying to get a gig and I took my family to a talent agent to try to get us some work, and it's me and my spouse and my son and daughter and our little dog, and then we go there and we get in front of them, and the talent agent says, well, what are your names? And I started running up trillions of dollars in debt to hand off to cronies that put me in office, and my wife over there, she or my husband, whatever floats your boat, my spouse, my spouse, my non-binary spouse, they started a genocide in Yemen that killed hundreds of thousands of people. And oh, my son, you wouldn't believe it. He drove up the cost of healthcare and caused the needless deaths of hundreds of thousands of people for no other reason than to push for government control of healthcare. And then my daughter, oh, my terrible, terrible daughter, oh, you won't believe, she bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons, and then the dog got shot by the ATF. And the talent agent said, "Well, that's interesting. What's your group called? And what's your act called?" And we said, "The Republicrats." Anyway, I don't really want coffee. I want something with cacao and turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, mushrooms. I think I'm going to miss something, and nothing else. Well, folks, we have some fantastic news for you. If you go to muddywatersofreedom.com/mud, you can get a Mud Water starter pack today. It tastes like what you'd think those ingredients taste like. You're going to want to add something sweet to it, like honey or sugar or even coffee, and maybe a macchiato. But you will enjoy it, and it's good for you. It has 1/7 of the cup of caffeine, just enough caffeine to get you all hyped up like me eating baba ganoush, but not so much that you end up with health problems later in life, like me if I eat too much baba ganoush.
What is baba ganoush?
Oh, it's egg. It's like hummus, but with eggplant instead of hummus. Chickpeas. Awful. Yeah, chickpeas. No, it's amazing. It's fantastic. I'm about to get more of it in a second, but I think my Bluetooth will reach over there, so we'll see.
So, kicking off this week, this pains me. I want everybody to know before I say these words that are going to leave my mouth. It pains me to say these words. It looks like Spike was right.
How's that feel?
Oh, it stings. It stings. According to The Hill, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer. Why do they call him Charles in The Hill, by the way? I just thought that was...
Chuck Schumer. He's always been Chuck. What happened to Chuck Schumer? Now he's Charles Schumer.
Charles Schumer. He is facing significant obstacles in his legislative push to legalize marijuana.
No.
Weird.
What?
I can't believe it.
I don't believe that. Go ahead.
He is facing significant resistance from Republicans and members of his own party, threatening chances of passage in the upper chamber.
Oh boy! So even the did they say which Democrats are against that one? That's funny.
Senator and acting president Joe Manchin has stated
I guess the libertarians aren't going to like him anymore.
He's in favor of $1 trillion in new taxes, but not $2.8 trillion in new taxes. Senate acting president Joe Manchin has stated he is supportive of legalizing medical marijuana, but has doubts on legalizing recreational marijuana.
Yeah, because that's deadly. I'm gonna have to call Hannah Cox after this.
And with the amount of extra pork that was added into the Moore bill, including increases in taxes, and somehow they've figured out a way to increase the possible crimes one could be arrested for in relation to cannabis. Others have questioned the possibility for this to be passed. And once again, the federal government is going to screw up legalizing marijuana.
Like whoever is in charge when cannabis is legalized, it will be an instant, it will help their election. Whether if they were close to winning, they're going to win in a landslide, or at least win decidedly. If they're way behind, it's going to help them up. If they're slightly behind, they'll actually come from behind and win. Like, it's obvious that people want this. There will be immediate benefit to it, and they just won't do it.
They won't do it.
It's just so.
I thought Trump was going to do it in 2020. I thought that was going to be, he was going to do that in August.
I agreed with you.
Yep. I thought that was going to happen, and I thought that the Democrats were going to do this time in order to make the red tsunami that's about to come through in November not be a tsunami, and instead just be a strong wave that's not a tsunami. I don't know the level of waves.
Yeah, just a wave.
It's just it's a big swell.
It's the swell. Yeah.
But yeah, it looks as though they have figured out a way to screw this up, and that it won't happen. So it appears as though Spike was correct.
I just want to say, it is devastating that lives are going to continue to be ruined over a medicinal herb that has absolutely, I mean, there's been no recorded deaths, very few recorded health issues, and they're very rare, and they're usually related to either an allergy or some specific genetic thing or something like that. This is as safe as it gets for a intoxicating drug. It's terrible that it's happening. The silver lining is that I was right. So I will take my victories where I can.
Yeah, I figured
this is one of those libertarian smug moments where I get to be smug as we continue to be whipped in the dungeon. I told you we were going to be whipped in the dungeon, and then, So I told you I wished I was wrong, but I wasn't. So
but you weren't.
I hedged my bet.
You did.
Either way, I win.
I would have rubbed it so in your face so hard if it happened, and I would have
loved it. Yeah, I hope it does. I hope it does, and I hope you can rub it.
And if it actually, because I didn't read the MORE Act before we reported on it the first time. If it actually does do the amount, like if it does figure out a way to put more people in prison for cannabis, I hope it doesn't pass.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. I could see that.
Speaking of people getting high, Elon Musk. Elon Musk has decided that he will not be joining the board of directors on Twitter.
Oh, so he's going to buy more shares.
He's going to buy more shares. Yeah. But that was the punchline to this.
Oh, sorry.
And well, some people, the left, I've been very excited about this news, saying this weekend change-up spares the company from having to deal with a renegade director tweeting about board-level discussions. That would have been untenable.
Because it's been terrible for Tesla and SpaceX and Earthlink. Freaking.
Well, those companies don't deal with free speech the way that Twitter does.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I liked his little tweet storm where he was like putting up polls of like, should we have an edit button? Should we remove the W from Twitter? Yeah.
Yeah.
He put up a meme of himself smoking on the Joe Rogan show, and it says next board meeting is going to be lit. Like, he was enjoying it.
Do you see where he did the
now instead he's
He did the Twitter poll, and he was like, should we convert Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco to a homeless shelter because nobody
homeless
shows
shelter?
Up
yeah. And Jeff Bezos retweeted it and was like, well, actually,
we do this at Amazon.
We did that at Amazon, and it actually helped. And I'm like, everything is a meme now.
Everything.
Like that was a meme, and like the biggest, most wealthiest person on earth talked about it seriously.
Yep.
I love it.
But the flip side to the original, to what they're saying, is
Yes.
that Elon is no longer limited to owning only 14.9% of Twitter stock, and he could buy the other 41.6. I think that math is right. In a takeover of the social media website, making him
The owner of Twitter.
the owner of Twitter. So what he has effectively done, and this is actually a really brilliant move by Elon, what he has effectively done is he has given Parag Agrawal cause for concern whenever he makes a decision on Twitter. Because if Elon doesn't like it, Elon buys more stock.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
everything Twitter does from here on out, they're going to have to wonder, will Elon buy more stock of Twitter and
Yeah.
become more powerful?
Slowly take it over. And the beauty is, if he can do stuff as a major owner of Twitter to make the stock price go down, then buy it.
Yep.
Then when it goes back up, he holds. Then he can do stuff to make it go back down, buy some more, like he did with Dogecoin. Oh, that's incredible.
So I don't know what Elon's going to do with Twitter. No clue. No idea. Would not have guessed he would have bought the majority stock holding that he did. Never would have seen that coming. So
Nope.
I have no clue what he's thinking. However,
Nope.
I think that he now has Twitter in a place where they have to think about whatever it is that they are going to do, or else Elon could come in and take over. And
Yeah.
I think that's a much better place than being on the board.
Yes. Yeah, it could. And I am going to laugh because Twitter is where, like, that's the main place for this so-called like cancel culture. And if he takes it over, he's like one of their most hated people. And they're not going to make something new.
No.
I love it.
No.
I love it.
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic what they're doing. But what isn't fantastic, or at least it's very
Not fantastic.
I agree with him. I agree with the guy in this situation, but his reasoning is very terrible, and it shows how short his memory is. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has decided not to support recent talks regarding the possible impeachment of Joe Biden.
Or stealing the election.
No, for Ukrainian stuff and Hunter's stuff that was on Hunter's laptop.
Oh, for the Hunter stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was okay.
Yeah, no, for legitimate things.
Yes.
For lying about, all this stuff on Hunter's laptop and saying it wasn't real. And then finding out it's all real, and that yes, he probably
And he was knowingly lying about it.
And he was knowingly lying about it. As Kevin McCarthy told Fox Business, one thing we learned that the Democrats did is they used impeachment for political reason. We believe in the rule of law. We're not going to pick and choose just because somebody has power. We're going to uphold the law at any time. If someone breaks the law and the ramification becomes impeachment, we would move towards that, but we're not going to use it for political purposes. Now, granted, he didn't join Congress until, I believe, 2013. I think. I could be wrong there, but I think it was 2013. So he wasn't in Congress in the 90s when the Republicans definitely used impeachment for political reasons because Bill Clinton was impeached for getting a blowjob.
Yes. And it blew up in their face. That's the real reason why they're not doing it, is because they already did this once and it blew up in their face. Because it turns out if you don't have like an actual major crime that was committed, because they went after him for perjury, and he obfuscated, and everyone's like, well, it was just for the blow job. And with this, it's going to be, well, it was his son. And I'm not sure if lying on the news is a crime. Like, did he lie in court about this? Like, I don't. Joe Biden, did Joe Biden break a law at some point lying about this? I mean, he did lie about it.
So, but it's the same. He did lie about it, but he never lied in court. But they're saying that lying to the American people, you're always sworn in, which is the same thing that they got Clinton on, because Clinton didn't lie in court initially. It was when he was like, I never had sexual relations with that woman. And then he followed it up with, that depends on what your definition of is.
Definition of is. Yeah.
That depends on what the definition of is.
It will go nowhere.
It will go nowhere.
That's what he wants to say. It will go nowhere. And
especially
that's why we don't want to do it.
Especially
and right now, Joe.
And with where his approval ratings are, the worst thing the Republicans can do is impeach this
change
man.
the subject. Yeah. Change change from record high inflation, the war, still people that are angry about Afghanistan, COVID anxieties. You were supposed to end this virus like you said you would. Potential for return. What happens if we have another major upswing of COVID and they start talking about lockdowns and mandates again? That's going to fall directly at his feet. And if he does something different than what Trump allowed, he'll lose his left flank. And if he allows it to continue, he'll lose everyone else. So that's not fun. So the best thing that could happen to him is if they started impeaching him for something that isn't like a clear cut, heinous crime that's been committed. That's why he's saying he's not doing it.
You're right. Exactly. And 100%. Focus on the things that that the voters are angry about. Voters might be upset. Republican voters might be upset over the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, but that is not going to be they're not going to back you on that. And then on the other side, if somehow miraculously you impeach him and then he gets convicted in the Senate, you have Kamala Harris, and that's not going to be better.
That's not better. And you also would need 2/3 Republicans. Actually, you need a little bit more than 2/3 Republicans, because at least a couple of them are going to say no. So you need like 70 you need more Republicans in the Senate than there have ever been. A larger majority than they've ever had. It's just not happening, and they know it, and they're not going to do it.
Yes.
Yep.
So, man, we are going to make it through this in time. I don't believe it. So that brings us, I don't have the graphic in here, so that brings us to the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, where you, our wonderful listeners, can go to anchor.fm/muddied waters and smash the old message button, and you can leave messages that we will play live on the air. Most of the time, we listen to them.
Most of the time.
Almost
all of the time.
Yes. Today is not one of those days. So, if you are injured, personally injured here in the great state of Florida, go to chrisreynoldslaw.com and be greeted by the smiling face of Chris Reynolds, who will most assuredly get you the stacks on stacks on stacks that you deserve.
Big money. Oh, hey, Mom. Oh, this isn't a phone. This is a giant stack of $100 bills that I got when I had personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, represent me in my personal injury case. I have a settlement and I need cash now. No, I don't, because I was represented by Chris Reynolds, personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, by going to chrisreynoldslaw.com. Thanks, Chris Reynolds.
Hey. Huh?
So our first call is actually a 3-part call from Midwest Guy.
I'm gonna get some Baba Ganoush while I'm listening to this.
Okay.
Pretty sure this will follow.
The first part of Midwest Guys just disappeared.
Good.
Hey, dang thing cut me off. I don't remember what I was saying, but basically what I'm trying to get at here is, the healthcare system, they created this false dilemma, right, where, hospitals basically have to choose between turning away patients or overworking their nurses, right? And of course you're going to choose overworking the nurses because they're not going to turn away the money and the patients. And then you put nurses in this situation where, they have to come up with, quick decisions that really disappointed them, in my opinion. And I don't know the whole situation. I suppose maybe there's something that I'm missing here, but I mean, at least just in general, I think it's completely on the hospital, in my opinion, because they're putting these nurses through this horrible working condition. They're overworking them, and the nurses don't have much other choices other than just to follow the profession. And I just think that's all really messed up.
So we have one more from Midwest Guy, and I'm not 100% sure what this question is. So,
Yes.
For anybody out there wondering, Spike is at an airport right now, getting ready to fly to Nashville, and so that is what you are hearing.
I'll be right back. I'm
Okay.
getting Baba Ganoush, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna mute you.
And I just wanted to clarify that it's because of all these kinds of regulations, all these anti-competitive regulations that they have in the healthcare industry, all kinds of crazy things that prevent new practices from opening, new places for patients to go, and also even just like getting new kinds of equipment to hospitals and stuff like that. And I just think that all this is really ridiculous and it's really got to go.
So what I'm guessing, based on what I could hear from that, and the fact that it was weird because his first part of his message, I hit play and it disappeared. So I don't know what happened to that exactly. But from what I understand, he's wondering why they were turning away people at a hospital and what regulations are doing that. And a lot of that is going to depend on what state you're in. I know you're a Midwest guy, but that covers a pretty wide swath of the area. Yeah, Derek Ambrose says, I think he's asking about government regulation on opening new healthcare facilities too close to another one. But yeah, that's going to be the certificate of need laws that many states have that is very restrictive on how many beds you can have in a hospital or how many beds you can have in a specific area. And these are the things that will hinder people from being able to get health care when they need it. Did you catch any of that?
Yeah, I caught all of it. I could hear
Okay.
the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
You are much more versed on
I was agreeing, but I was muted.
You weren't, actually. I turned you back up after he finished talking.
Oh, I agreed with what he was saying.
Right. So, yeah, you're more versed on certificate of need laws than me. I understand the basic premise of them.
Yeah, so the idea behind certificate of need laws is it's based on back in the, I think, 60s or 70s, these ridiculous economists came out and said, the real problem with healthcare is overinvestment. The costs are being driven up because they're spending all this money on too much stuff that they don't really need. Of course, none of this was true, and there was no data actually demonstrating this. But they said, yeah, if you think about it, if you got all these different MRIs, someone had to pay for those MRIs. And the cost of those MRIs are going down to the consumer. So we're going to restrict the MRIs to only what's needed. And who's going to decide what's needed? The people who own those MRIs. They're going to decide if any new ones are needed. That couldn't possibly end up creating what we have now. Well, it did. And that's basically what it is. And so now you have healthcare companies that are deciding to basically use the court system and the application process to frustrate any attempts to bring in new competition, or for their existing competition to expand. Of course, they're not going to expand. So it's basically a healthcare cartel that's codified by law because of a thoroughly debunked, ridiculous economic theory from 50, 60 years ago that no one believed back then either. And, perfect example of government. Oh, and government's already acknowledged, like, all of the major studies that have been done on them have demonstrated it hasn't helped anything. Even the government admits these aren't good. So they're still in most states.
Yes. So I'm sorry that I don't know what happened to your first question, Midwest guy, but I hope we answered it. And here is our next question and last question from the Cajun Libertarian.
Hey, Matt, Spike, everybody else, love y'all very much. I wanted to talk a second about what's going on in China, where they have once again locked their citizens inside their homes. So the residents started going to their balconies and their windows, singing in protest, saying, "Why are you starving us?" Literally. And then the government's response to that was to send drones up into the air. And I want you to hear what that sounds like real quick. Literally telling them to curb their soul's desire for freedom. This is so freaking Orwellian and nightmarish. There is one thing, stopping us from being in this situation. It is our Second Amendment. It is our right to bear arms, or we could very well easily be in the same situation. Once again, I love each and every one of y'all very, very much. Cajun Libertarians, signing off, Muddy Waters of Freedom. Yay, yay.
So, and just to let go, no, go ahead, man.
The stuff going on in China right now is, it's what you would expect from China right now. It's awful and it's terrible, but it is literally what you would expect from China in this situation, which is awful. I saw a video. I didn't see the video of the drones flying, but I did see the video. I don't know how many of you out there saw it, of the robotic dogs with speakers like duct taped to them, and they were going around saying basically that message. Stay in your homes. This is for the good of this is for the good of the country. Don't leave your houses, whatever. And it is exactly what you would expect from an authoritarian regime like the Chinese Communist government.
Yep.
It is
and
go ahead.
That phrase, quiet your soul's desire for freedom, or whatever it is actually a phrase that was used by I believe the mayor of Shanghai, and he was celebrated in the media when he said it. This was like a year or two ago when they had another surge. And so now they've used their state-run media and state-sponsored pop culture to take this message and popularize it and make it something cool that people say to each other to remind them to not try to be free, to worry about the good of the Chinese people. And so it's even worse than we're hearing it and going, oh my God, they're threatening them. No, they're not. They're saying the thing that calms them down and makes them go, oh yeah, we have to do this for the good of the people, while they starve, while they are literally locked. You want to talk about a lockdown? They are locked in their buildings. They cannot leave. If they try to escape, they could be killed. It is absolute dystopia to chase a zero COVID policy, which will result in countless more deaths as a result of it. It is absurd that they are doing it, but they're doing it. And when government does something, they can do whatever they want. And if we aren't careful, that great revolutionary type of stuff will end up over here. But remember, this isn't real communism. The fact that every single time they attempt communism, it turns into some kind of weird Orwellian fascist state. That's just a coincidence. It's not because of communism.
It's not because, just because somebody burns a souffle every time they make it doesn't mean that souffle is bad.
No. Especially if the recipe for the souffle calls for setting it on fire. That's not the recipe's fault. It's weird.
It's absolutely nothing.
Don't be a bigot.
Now, if you are one of the people out there who are like, well, how do we keep this from happening here in America? The obvious answer lies with the right to own firearms. And that brings us to our final segment today. The ATF.
Coincidentally, yes.
Joe Biden, well, first, a couple of weeks ago, I think 2, I don't remember, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, we here at Muddy Waters Freedom talked about the new gun rules that were expected from the ATF. The reasoning they are being given is because they want to get rid of the world of ghost guns, is what they're saying. That's their false reasoning. And they are describing that as any gun that is made at home without a serial number. And with these new rules, they turn a Glock 40 into 16 separate firearms. We went over it on a show a couple of weeks ago. I knew we weren't going to have a lot of time this week, so that's why I didn't pull it up. But the pretty much every part of a gun becomes its own separate firearm, which means all of these separate parts of firearms need to have their own serial number, need to be tracked. These are the new rules that the ATF is trying to push through. So any part of a gun that you get replaced, if it does not have a serial number on it, it is now an illegal firearm. So they are attempting to turn anybody who replaces a firing pin into a felon. That is what is going to be happening here. Now, Thomas Massie has been pushing back on this rule a lot. And he tweeted the other day, "The Constitution does not authorize the federal government to prevent you from making your own firearm." True. This is a fact that has been recognized for 200 plus years. Also, Article 1, Section 1, literally the first operative sentence in the Constitution, says Congress makes law, not the president. Also true.
Yes.
But over the course of the last 40 years, 50 years, we have given these alphabet agencies all of the power to make whatever rules, whatever guidelines they want, with absolutely no oversight, and nobody has really called them on much of it. Slowly they have been chipping away, and this is where it has been for the ATF. This is where it has been leading. The new rule that the ATF has recently released notes that Biden's fiscal year 2023 budget calls on Congress to deliver funding for implementing the strategy to reduce gun crime, which means in order to implement this rule, his budget has to be passed. We talked about the budget last week.
Yep.
We said that it was DOA because of the tax increases, but not so much because of the price tag, which is $5.8 trillion.
Yep.
So if there's no funding for this rule, there is no rule. However, like we said last week, the odds of it staying at $5.8 trillion is minimal. It will probably go up. The amount of taxes that are going to be added, right now, I believe they're at $2.8 trillion of new taxes coming in. I believe that number will go down.
That will go down.
That will go down. So we are looking at a situation where if this budget passes, this law is now in effect. And for all of our firearm friends out there who have as many weapons as they choose to want, and they should have as many weapons as they choose to want, they are now potentially going to have to face multiple federal crimes if any part of their gun is not serialized. I don't know if they have a grandfather clause in this thing. I didn't read one.
They have a grandfather clause for anything that's been professionally, my understanding is that they have a grandfathering in of anything that's been professionally manufactured to protect the crony gun companies. But if it was ever what they consider a ghost gun or part of a do-it-yourself kit, then there is no grandfathering. It is retroactively applied. So if you bought a kit to make this, then it would be applied. I'm not 100% sure I should probably reach out to the Firearms Policy Coalition and find out. I don't know if this applies to guns that have been 3D manufactured. If they do, then can't imagine it wouldn't.
It's a gun without
and what's
serial
crazy,
number.
the reason why I'm not sure is because the whole thing that they use here is saying, well, we're not restricting your guns. We're just restricting guns you buy, including kits that you buy and make yourself. But if you didn't buy anything and you just use some readily available, free to access blueprints to make your own with your own printer, I don't know that they can do that without new legislation. So I'm going to find that out. But it's certainly anyone that bought one of these Glock kits or anything like that, that absolutely you have to register every single one of those parts now legally, or you could be in trouble.
Right. Now, in addition to the announcement of these rules, which he did not mention that it's requiring of the budget passing. He left that part out. Because that makes sense. But in addition to the announcement of these new rules, Biden announced that he is taking another shot at confirming the first new ATF director in 16 years after the last nominee, David Chipman, as we all remember him, the guy with the weird, he had the weird smile. He was like, he would smile, but the corners of his lips would turn down, and it was just weird. He fizzled out for his opinions on banning assault weapons. What he called assault weapons. Don't say I said it.
Yes.
And of course, him being part of the Waco raid.
Yes.
His new nominee.
And lying about the Waco raid and claiming that they were shooting down helicopters with 50 caliber machine guns and all this crap.
Right. And saying he was the architect of the Waco raid and everything else that he was saying. His new nominee is Steve Dettelbach. Steve Dettelbach, a former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Ohio, a failed candidate for Attorney General of Ohio, and Obama's Harvard Business School buddy. Now, when Dettelbach was running for Attorney General, he called on reinstating the assault weapons ban, as well as implementing more background checks on firearm purchases in Ohio.
So we know what he wants.
We know what he wants. Somebody asked me today if this guy is more radical than Chipman or not. And I said, I don't know. I don't know enough about his stances on things. What I can tell you is he is at least as radical. He is at least as radical as Chipman was, and he will attempt to do everything he can to get rid of what they would consider assault weapons, but nobody can define it on that side.
Yep. You're not going to get an ATF appointee from the Biden administration that isn't a massive gun grabber. For that matter, you're not going to get one from a Republican administration that isn't a gun grabber. So you're certainly not going to get one from Biden.
Yeah. If you think you're going to get one from the Republicans, you're wrong. If you think you're going to get like a mild gun grabber from Biden, you're wrong. You're going to get somebody who's going to attempt to get rid of everything, because I can assault you with anything. Will Smith assaulted Chris Rock with his hand. Does that mean that he's going to ban hands?
Assault weapon is an entirely made up term, just like ghost gun. The only real ghost gun is in Ghostbusters. And the only danger they pose to living people is if you cross the streams. Everyone knows that.
But sometimes you have to, especially when you are fighting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
But it was dangerous.
It was. I mean, it was dangerous, but it had to be done.
It had to be done, but it was dangerous.
It had to be done.
You're saying it's dangerous.
So
no, it had to be done.
This means that Dettelbach is going to be going up against the same people who shot down Chipman, which gives you some semblance of hope. But does this mean
I don't think there's going to be a new ATF.
No, I don't think so. But does this mean he won't get confirmed? No, but it's going to be an uphill battle in order to get this guy through.
I can see that. Yeah.
They are going to try to push to get this guy through any way that they can. Does it mean it's going to happen? No. But they will attempt to push him through, saying we need somebody there. I'm not conspiratorial in my thinking. And I don't believe that what happened in New York City today is a conspiracy. If it turns out he shot those people with the ghost gun, I'll have questions.
Yeah, vast majority of shootings don't happen with ghost guns. They say these are the guns the criminal's gun of choice, just like they say Bitcoin is the currency of choice of criminals. There's no, they use whatever gun they can get. And ghost guns, the vast majority of what they call ghost guns, vast majority of Glock kits and 3D manufactured weapons and homemade weapons and so forth are hobbyists and people who just don't want to have themselves register with the government. So that's always been garbage.
Yes. So all we really know about Dettelbach at this point is that he is going to fight for banning so-called assault weapons, stricter background checks, and these ridiculous new laws that basically turn every single gun owner into a felon. And
exactly.
Also make it nearly impossible for your small gun shops to stay open.
Yep. Because that's the whole thing, is driving up the cost of guns and making it more difficult to effectively sell weapons. That's really what this is about. What's funny is that it drives the manufacturing market. It creates the black market, but that's what government does. It creates black markets.
Right. And I'm not saying there wasn't a black market for a lot of these things already, because there was. However, this is going to push it further in that direction, which means that anytime that if you get pulled over,
Yep.
you are a legal gun owner, you get pulled over, and these laws are now, these rules, because they're not laws, these rules are now in effect. The cop can say, let me see your weapon. If you have a firing pin or a magazine plate that isn't serialized,
Yep.
you are now a felon.
Yep.
And they will take your gun rights away from you. Now, the fact sheet for the new rule stated, Congress needs to do its job by passing this budget and other essential legislation to reduce gun crime, including legislation to require background checks for all gun sales, ensuring that no terrorist can buy a weapon in the United States. Remember, they've recently changed the definition of a terrorist to include this guy and me and every single one of you watching.
Yep. Parents that show up to their school board meetings.
Yep. Ensure that no terrorist can buy a weapon in the United States. Ban the sale and possession of unserialized firearms, which they've just made each individual part of a weapon a firearm. Ghost guns, ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and repeal gun manufacturers' protection from liability. This, of course, led Joe Biden to say, what if the cigarette companies didn't have to what if the cigarette companies were protected from prostitute people suing them? Pretty close to a direct quote. He said something about prostitute, which I know he was saying prosecution, and then he was like, that's not the right word. And so he switched it. He said prostitute, people suing them. They are
okay.
Yeah. I don't like doing the fear thing. I try not to do it a lot. But when I was doing the research for this story, they're coming for your guns. They are going to attempt to shut down every small gun owner in the United States with tons of new burdensome regulation, and then they're going to take all of the information they have and digitize it to get well, it won't be a registry because that's illegal, but they'll have a registry, but it won't be a gun registry.
It's not called a registry, it's just an owner registry with all your guns in it.
And then they will go after the people who have parts in their weapons that aren't serialized. And they will arrest them and make them felons and ruin their lives forever because overnight they've turned them into criminals. Now, as Massie tweeted today, federal law does not give Biden authority to regulate various gun parts or track buyers of gun parts. True. The receiver is the only part that is regulated according to federal law. It shouldn't be, but it's true. Federal law does not prohibit an individual from making his or her own receiver. This is the law. If we want to make sure that we don't ever have to use those guns, we need this rule not to go into effect.
Yep. So this bill needs to not ever happen or have that stripped from it, or there's going to be some serious trouble.
Yes. Because there's the saying that people will say, if it's time to start throwing your guns in the lake, it's time to start losing your guns in the lake, it's time to start using them.
Yep.
I don't want to see that.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to see it.
No.
So I would prefer for this not to go through.
Yeah, we'd all prefer for this not to go through.
But if it goes through, I'm not going to say you should lose your guns in the lake.
Yeah.
No more boating accidents.
Yeah, we'll see. I have a feeling that this might end up becoming a poison pill because Republicans have every reason to oppose the entire Biden administration anyway. They're going to get a tremendous amount of feedback from gun owners. I don't trust Republicans in general any more than I really trust the Democrats. I trust them only to want to get reelected. And I think this could potentially, we'll see how it plays out, but this could potentially be a poison pill that ends up getting replaced by a restriction that isn't quite as burdensome or onerous as this, but is, somewhat burdensome and onerous. And then the Republicans can say, look, we defended your gun rights for another day. We will see.
Yeah. Man, we're going to get this in before you have to leave. I can't believe it.
I know, it's incredible.
That is incredible. So, there's a tornado. Kenneth Ebel, be safe. There's a tornado near his house at this very moment.
Oh, gosh. Be safe, man. Be safe, Kenneth.
Be safe.
But, yeah. So, yes, folks. So, that's it. That's the show.
Yeah, that's the show. We did that show in an hour and 12 minutes.
That's insane.
We
never do that.
We haven't done that in a long time.
That's incredible. Well, it's not over yet because now we get to do the thing where we say the things. We say things. So I am not having an episode of My Fellow Americans tomorrow. So join me next week for the next episode of My Fellow Americans. On Thursday, we are doing the Muddied Zoom starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, and at some point after that, we are working out the exact time. Join me at the Patriot Brewing. No, the Bold Patriot Brewing on 39th Avenue North in Nashville, Tennessee.
I think there is a chance that my personal mentor and wedding invite attendee, Brett Corriere, may be coming.
Oh, nice! I can't wait I hope he does. I can't wait to meet him if he does.
Yeah.
So
he asked me if I was
going,
and that was how I found out that you had that thing on Thursday.
Yeah. So join me there, and we'll be having a great time there. Brought to you by Good Morning Liberty and For All Tennessee. Might even have some elected officials, I'm being told. We might have some state legislators there. Yeah, doing some big stuff. Yeah, we'll see. So, and then enjoy your weekend, and then join us. Friday is Mr. America, the Bearded Truth.
Yeah, and on Friday, he has William Henry to discuss cannabis on his episode.
Just in time for the Congress not to legalize marijuana. Got it in one more time. And then join us next week. Have a great Easter weekend or a great Passover.
Is it Easter this weekend?
Oh, Easter weekend. It's also the Pesach weekend. So good Pesach. Pesach
HBO Max,
Sameach.
if you have HBO Max, that's the weekend that Batman will be streaming.
That's interesting. And then
Saturday.
Oh, well, there you go. Enjoy that. And then join us right back here next Tuesday, same muddy place, same muddy time for another fantastic episode, The Muddy Waters of Freedom. As we parse through the week's events, I'll be back home, so I'll be streaming. I won't be in the Admiral's Club Lounge. Matt.
On the 18th. On the 18th. We are going to be on Monday the 18th.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to be hosting right here on Muddied
Right
Waters Media.
here.
Right here. We are going to be hosting on Muddied Waters Media a fundraiser for, I am blanking on that man's
Bill
name.
Redpath.
Thank you.
For
I was
Bill
like, he was
Redpath.
on my show Thursday.
He's running for Senate in Illinois, yes.
In Illinois. And it is going to be one hell of an evening. We're going to have so many people that are going to be at this thing. You're going to be able to see speeches from a lot of great people. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, everybody that's going to be there, but one of the guests, if Spike tries to introduce this guest, I will go to South Carolina, and it will be the last time anybody sees him. I am so excited to introduce this person. I cannot wait to introduce this person. And
the guy with the,
yeah, nobody's taking that one from me. Yes, I'm so very excited to introduce this person. And so be sure to tune in to find out. Watch me fangirl like you wouldn't believe over this one.
If I introduce him, then I will die in a suicide. That will be very troubling indeed. And then an indie rock group will write a song about how Matt probably really killed me, called Matt Did It. No spoilers, though. So, folks, thanks again for tuning in to this episode of The Muddy Waters of Freedom.
You made a Narcissus cookbook reference, though. That's...
You're the one who said that. I didn't say that. No spoilers. No spoilers. But, Matt, if someone were trying to look for The Muddy Waters of Freedom and Muddy Waters Media and the Bill Redpath fundraiser featuring the likes of Joe Jorgensen and others, is that even possible, and how would that happen?
It is possible. If you're looking for the Bill Redpath fundraiser that will be featuring Joe Jorgensen and others, the most electrifying, vivacious libertarian presidential candidate since Bob Barr. That's at 8:00, just so everybody knows. 8:00 Eastern.
8:00 Eastern.
8:00 Eastern. 7:00 Central. 6 Mountain. 5 Pacific.
4:00 in Alaska.
3:00 in Hawaii. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. All you would have to do is head on over to your favorite social media sites. We're on all of them. Muddied Waters Media. If you are one of the old school people who, instead of enjoying looking at the boyish good looks that are here in front of you, even when the background noise of an airport is there.
It's the Admiral's Club Lounge.
It's still an airport.
It is still an airport. I'm looking at an airplane right now.
Yeah. I forgot where I was, but if you don't,
then you can, if you would prefer
just to hear the dulcet tones of our voices, all you would have to do is head on over to anchor.fm/muddied waters.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Muddied Waters.
While you're there, you can do things like leave us messages.
Yeah.
And you can subscribe, which I don't think I have that in here because I've never streamed. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Yes, I do.
Yes.
You can subscribe to the Muddied Waters muddied motherfuckers.
The mud people. Join the mud people.
Join the mud people. And you get special things like joining in on the Muddied Zoom on Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern. And you also get discounts at the Muddied Waters Media store. And
Absolutely.
And still, if you're a member of the mud people, you still get a discount at Defy the Power and Stitches and Glitches. So you still get a discount.
Incredible.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Wow.
So all you have to do is head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe, and you can be a member. Or you can find us on your favorite podcasting apps, or you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
That's incredible. Muddywatersmedia.com. I am so excited. I'm also excited that I'm not going to miss my flight. That was ever present during this entire episode, but I'm not. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it in time. It's fantastic. Folks, thanks again so much for tuning in. We love you very much. Join us for Thursday for the Muddied Zoom. Join me right after that, probably the very second it ends, in Bold Patriot Brewing Company for a meet and greet with me. Join us on Friday for the Mr. America, the Beard and Truth. Join us on Tuesday for the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Have a great weekend. We love you. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.